So, ladies and gentlemen, CNN's Jake Tapper, though he had the perfect gotcha moment, he pulls up, Haiti's crime stats, starts reading them off to the DHS secretary, and thinks he's ended the debate. Now what? Because he read those stats off, everyone is supposed to say no one can ever be sent back? Since when did crime automatically cancel, immigration law? Because if dangerous conditions are now the standard, then we need to have a much bigger conversation, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, let's be honest. Americans live in dangerous cities every single day. That exists. We don't shut down places like Chicago, Memphis, Oakland, because their city has gangs, shootings, robberies, and failed leadership. We don't say the law no longer applies. So why is it when America has crime, we talk about enforcement, accountability, but for Haiti, the crime, CNN wants to act like the United States is now permanently responsible for everybody who came here under a temporary program. And so as always, smash that thumbs up button. That's the best way to let me know you enjoy the content. For more, subscribe to the channel. Let's start right here.
Some of the Haitian nationals that have TPS, they have children that were born in Chile, they have children that were born in Brazil, they have children that were born in different countries, and they have children that were born in the United States. So when we're talking about separation, the separation is far more complicated than people are even speaking of, right? So what do? You're going to send a Brazilian, Chilean, American national to Haiti when that's not their country of origin? There's no passport for them to go to Haiti. So this is very, very complicated.
Without realizing it, she just told you some of the game and told you what I've been telling you for a very long time, that a lot of these individuals that are here under this temporary protected status were already safely settled in another country. That's why they're having children who were born in other countries. And when Biden opened up the border, they all came here and then discarded those. Many of these people were shopping around countries, and when Joe Biden opened up the border, they surged the border. Do you remember this scene from 2021 when you had about 14 to 15,000 mostly Haitians that were standing under the Del Rio Bridge? They surged the border, and here's Bill Malugin with Fox News, who had been on the border since day one of Joe Biden's presidency, and here he is interviewing a Haitian who had told him that he had already been settled in Brazil before coming to the U.S. And these are all of the discarded, you can see where they came from, IDs that came from Brazil. And I love how Bill Malugin adds here, you might ask how I was able to communicate with Haitians, because I speak Spanish, and so did they, after living in Chile for so long. We have been used by many individuals claiming asylum, claiming temporary protected status as an economic zone, as offering the best benefits of all that they shop countries at this point, and they do it thanks to the UN, these NGOs, these nonprofits, whoever it is that is enabling them to be able to do this.
I just want everybody to remember where this started. Haiti's TPS was originally tied to the 2010 earthquake. We were talking about roughly 50 to 60,000 people. Fast forward now, and DHS says there's about 350,000 Haitians who are under what started as a temporary program for people already here after the 2010 earthquake. And so that didn't stay that way, because under the Biden administration, DHS repeatedly redesignated Haiti and expanded eligibility. I need you to understand that. That allowed many more Haitians who had arrived through the southern border, for example, that was open when Texas was not allowed to close it. You guys we all remember that. And then there were just changes made to the cutoff date to qualify for TPS. That's one reason why the program grew from the 50 to 60,000 to nearly 350K. Here's Obama's DHS secretary back in 2010, ladies and gentlemen, announcing she signed the Haitian TPS order for only 18 months. Check it out.
Lastly, as has been widely reported yesterday, I signed the order beginning for the process of TPS status for Haitians already in the United States. This is a kind of an intermediate immigration status that allows those who are here to remain and to work. And as they work, of course, many send remittances back home. This in and of itself is a form of support to Haiti and a form of economic assistance to Haiti. To qualify, you must have been in the United States before January the 12th, the date of the earthquake. It will be good for 18 months. from the date of the issuance, so that will be in July of 2011. So for Haitians in the country who were here before the earthquake, we are now opening up the process of TPS, that intermediate immigration status for you.
So we know the program originally meant for individuals who were already here, ended up expanding into something that now looks like a free-for-all for anyone willing to take advantage of the system. And the reality is the United States is already a very generous country when it comes to allowing people to stay. I mean, that's true. We have some of the most lenient immigration policies in the world. And so if people come here, they also have the responsibility to do what they need to do to make sure, they could remain here legally. That part needs to be discussed because it's easy for the media to say Trump is the bad guy for ending TPS protections, but these individuals had options. They could have filed the correct paperwork. They could have applied for other legal status if they qualified. And if their country was truly so dangerous and they had that much to lose, then it was their responsibility to do everything required under the law to remain here legally. But let's get into this because you got CNN's Jake Tapper. He doesn't seem to understand that when the current DHS Secretary Markwayne Mullin explains it. Check it out.
Will you be deporting all of them? Will they be all deported back to their home countries, Haiti and Syria? And when will these deportations start? Will it be immediately?
Well, Jake, first of all, temporary protective status was never intended to be permanent. And there's a lot of people that came over here 15, 20 years ago underneath TPS that's already changed their status. The whole time these individuals have been here underneath the temporary protective status, they could have applied for a visa. They could have applied for a LPR. They could have applied for different directions, but the status itself can be ended in its name itself by saying temporary. So these individuals have a couple of choices. They can try to apply for a permanent residence here. They can apply for a temporary visa if they choose to, or they can choose to go back. And if they want to go back, we'll help them with that. If I'm talking directly to the individuals with the temporary protective status, either try to fill out the paperwork and be here underneath a permanent status, or we'll help you get back to your country. We'll actually give you a plane ticket plus roughly $2,100 to help you reestablish when you get there. But temporary protective status, according to the courts and in its name itself, is not permanent status.
This is something that cannot be expressed enough. If you knew the status was temporary and you had years to figure out whether you had another legal path, then why would you sit back and assume the government was just going to keep on extending it forever? At some point, personal responsibility, ladies and gentlemen, that has to enter the conversation. I mean, am I wrong? Because temporary protection it's temporary. It's in the word. I mean, it's in the name of it. It's temporary. It was never meant to be permanent or become permanent by default. Let's continue.
And I just looked at the State Department's website, and they have a level 4 do not travel advisory for Haiti just from a few months ago, from April, and it says, quote, violent crime is rampant. The expansion of gang, organized crime, and terrorist activity has led to widespread violence. Crimes involving firearms are common. Crimes include robbery, carjacking, sexual assault, and kidnappings for ransom. That doesn't sound safe to me.
Well, that do not travel is not for Haitians. That's do not travel for the United States, because they are kidnapping or trying to kidnap individuals from the United States because they feel like their family has the money to pay the ransom. We have do not travel in places in Mexico, or advisory warnings. In fact, if you go through our website in the State Department, you'll see there's advisories to a lot of places that are vacation destinations that we have advisories on because of the real risk to Americans. That doesn't mean it's a risk to the individuals that live there. So that isn't that advisory is to American citizens traveling to Haiti, not Haitians going back home.
Yeah, these are not really hard or complicated things to understand. A do not travel advisory tells American citizens not to go somewhere because the U.S. may not be able to protect them. I think we kind of all understand that. At least I thought we did. It has nothing to do with the citizens from that country being able to have permanent residency here in America. That's what Jake Tapper is trying to play this game of. A travel warning for U.S. citizens somehow becomes an ability for people from that country to say that's a reason for them to be able to stay here.
Based on everything I've read, including the UN and Human Rights Watch, it doesn't sound safe for Haitians. More than 8,100 killings documented last year. Those weren't Americans. Haiti is among the top 5 countries with the highest rates of rape and sexual abuse, with more than 1,200 cases of sexual violence last year. That's not Americans. 1.4 million people have been displaced. Those aren't Americans.
Is there a question in that?
Ladies and gentlemen, that was the perfect way to respond to whatever that was Jake Tapper was doing, as he was just spewing off crime stats, right? I mean, what are you actually saying? Crime exists? Okay. You reading off crime stats. You could do the same thing for some of the most dangerous cities in America too, where shootings, gangs, carjackings, robberies happen every day because of broken leadership. But now let's go to Fox News, where they have some pretty shocking numbers to report on. And so check this out.
Charlie, great to be with you. And, you know, the Babylon Bee summarized this the best today. I don't know if you saw what they put out in saying, in controversial 6-3 opinion, Supreme Court rules that the words temporary and forever are not the same. Now, exactly. What is shocking is that 3 Supreme Court justices said somehow that they are the same. And you just highlighted a statistic that's really important, the 2010 date with respect to Haiti and an earthquake. We are now obviously 16 years beyond that. But also the fact that 65% of the people who come here who are on TPS status are on welfare. Yeah. This is the crux of everything, Charlie. This is why the president is correct, why my good friend, and he is a very good friend of mine, Tom Homan, is correct. They are doing the right thing. And all this wailing and gnashing of teeth is a bit much. I think Stephen Miller said it right. Like, look, Haiti, that's good for Haitians, and go, you know, fix your country. When you have earthquake, we're humane. We'll step in and try to help. But it's not a permanent status issue. And by the way, my Republican colleagues, if they want to win this November, they've got to stop playing footsie with Democrats on these things. We had to deal with a discharge petition among Republicans here in the House to try to extend TPS further for Haitians. 10 Republicans sided with Democrats to do that. That's not the way to win in November. I listened to your segment with Byron York. Let's go inspire the people to stand behind the president to stop this flood into our country, and that's the way to win.
And so here's a few things. Number one, Chip Roy is saying 65% of TPS holders are on welfare now. I'm not going to pretend I found a clean government table that backs what he just said right there with those exact numbers specifically. But here's what I can say. Non-citizen household welfare use is extremely high, and that's according to the Center for Immigration Services. The CIS puts non-citizen household welfare use at 59%, ladies and gentlemen. And in some states like New York, for instance, they put it as high as 65%, which tells us whether it's TPS or whatever, American taxpayers are paying a whole lot for individuals who have come to this country. And despite what the media will tell you about their contributions to society, that's always the ringing message. That's not what the numbers are saying. That's the bigger issue. But back to CNN, because you got Abby Phillips making a comparison to Trump and how he's treating white South Africans in comparison to Haitians. And so take a look.
Tonight, a split screen of the Trump administration's treatment of refugees. As the Supreme Court gives the White House the green light to deport hundreds of thousands of legal migrants, like Haitians, we're learning now that at the same time, the White House is rolling out the red carpet for white South African refugees. According to the New York Times, the administration is putting together welcome bags that include an Android tablet, an American flag, copies of the Constitution, and literature sanitizing American and South African history, claiming that South Africa promotes discrimination against white people. They will also give the refugees a report commissioned by Trump downplaying the role of slavery in America's founding, and a children's book accusing South Africa's government of favoring the black population. Look, it is a fact that in the last year, since October 2025, 6,000 plus South African refugees have been allowed into this country. 3 have been allowed in from Afghanistan, and 0 people have been allowed in from anywhere else.
So Abby Phillips, once again, I guess she thinks she's sounding the alarm on the racism of the Trump administration, and she's here to do her journalistic work and point it out. Not really, though, because what she's doing is taking two different immigration programs, smashing them together, and then saying, see, racism, you see it? But that's not how the law works, ladies and gentlemen, right? Abby Phillips is trying to skip over the actual law and jump straight to race. And so then she brings up South African refugees. And so first off, let's get this out the way. Let's be honest. The administration clearly made a policy choice to prioritize Afrikaners from South Africa. I'm going to admit that part and then show you why that doesn't matter, because that is a policy. But refugee policy has always involved specific groups, specific regions, and specific claims of persecution. Ladies and gentlemen, you'd have to be pretty foolish if you think the government admits refugees by random lottery. They don't. They decide who qualifies based on the priorities of that administration. And so the real question is not, is this a policy? Of course, it's a policy. We can admit that. The real question is, why does the media only discover discrimination when the group being helped, they happen to be white? Because when Americans took in refugees from Somalia, Afghanistan, Syria, Sudan, other countries. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't recall anyone on CNN sitting there screaming, why are we prioritizing that group? They understood that refugee policy is targeted by definition. But now that the group is white South Africans, suddenly the entire conversation becomes, how is this not racism? That's what Abby Phillips wants you to believe. And another thing, let's stop playing with the selective outrage game, please. Really, it's sickening. Because when the Biden border crisis was happening, people were allowed into this country, released into the interior through the southern border, and sanctuary cities were using taxpayer money to put migrants into shelters, hotels, feed them. And in New York, migrant families were being given prepaid debit cards. And so a goodie bag that includes a tablet, a copy of the Constitution, and the American flag. I mean, if you ask me, it actually sounds like these guys got the short end of the stick when it comes to getting their free government handouts, considering what so many other groups have been able to get. But those are just my thoughts in the update. Now I want to hear from you. Drop your comments down below. I appreciate when you guys chime in. Don't forget you enjoy the content. Smash the thumbs up. For more, subscribe to the channel. And as always, until next time.